Hi, I'm Reva with Quality Sewing and Vacuum, and we're going to take a look at basic embroidery on your new Bernina 990. So let's take a look at the main screen here. We're going to go right into embroidery. And in here, you're going to find that there are different folders, and the folders have different things in them. There's sewing stitches in the sewing folder, lettering in lettering, and embroidery designs in embroidery. It's as simple as that. Then also you have a personal folder where you can store the things that you have saved and things that you want to keep on hand. You can also bring things in off of a USB device, or you can even go ahead and send things over wirelessly. Well, let's take a look at bringing up an embroidery design. Now, when you go into embroidery, you notice that there's tons of different categories. And inside each category folder, there are many different designs. So let's see if we can find one. This is cute. Let's do that one. We have our little jellyfish and our little other fish here. Really super cute. It has chosen the hoop based on the size of the design. So it says here that it's going to be in the medium size. If you want to use a larger size hoop, you would touch the hoop icon and then you could choose the specific hoop that you would like to use. Maybe you want to use the oval hoop, or maybe you're doing a big item and you want to use the giant hoop. Whichever hoop you want to use, you got it. So there is our hoop, and this is our design, and you're going to notice that our design is listed on this layer right here. If you want to add another item, you touch the plus, and then we could go in here and find a different item that we want to use. I'm going to say let's do the manatee here. So now we have a manatee and we have our fish. So we have two different embroidery designs, two different layers, and as you can see, when one is selected, it's highlighted here and it's highlighted on the screen there. To switch between them, you just touch on the design you want to look at, and it's highlighted here and it's highlighted over here. You could do the same thing by just touching the layer that you want to work with. Now, I don't think I want the manatee, so we can do a couple things to get rid of them. We can go into Edit and choose Delete. We can go and touch and hold him and choose Delete. Or you can touch and hold his layer and swipe him to the right, and then he's deleted. You can touch and drag your design wherever you want it to go. And you notice how the hoop can get this red line around the outside edge? That's saying that the design is hanging out the edge of the hoop. So what that means is that this design can still be stitched, but what it will not stitch is the stuff that is hanging out of the hoop. This machine is smart enough to know that it needs to stop sewing when it gets to the edge. Okay? So if you want to make sure that your whole design gets stitched, make sure it's all within your hoop area. If you want to zoom in and see what's going on, you can expand your fingers and then that will zoom in. If you pinch them, it makes them zoom out. So if you want to see it really well, zoom in. Then on here, if you touch and hold a corner of the box that's surrounding the design, you can change the size of the design. If you want to make it narrower but the same height, you would use the side. If you want to make him shorter but the same width, then you would use the bottom button. And if you hate that because he doesn't look right, you can undo to your heart's content and bring him back to the original size. The little ball up at the top is your rotate. So if you touch and drag that, you can rotate him into any position that you would like. which is really awesome. Now let's take a look at some of the editing functions. So if we touch our pencil, now you notice that the pencil is yellow. That means that there is something that has changed about this design from its original state. So let's go take a look at that. And it's our move has changed, our positioning has changed. So, which we know, we moved it and we changed its position. You can use your move arrows here, and let me go back. You have a move arrow, so you can touch the move arrow, then you can move him horizontally or vertically by using the plus minus. You can also use your knobs. Okay? Let's go back. You can also rotate. You can rotate by touching the button there. You can also rotate using the knobs. So there's multiple ways that you can do just about everything in this machine. So let's go to resize. If you want to change his height and width equally, you touch the lock and then you can change his size. To get back to the regular size, just touch the yellow box quickly and it will default back to the original size. Then you can also duplicate, and that adds more onto the screen. So now we have 3 of them. Well, I don't want 3, so I'm going to touch him and get him off, and I'll touch him and get him off. Okay, now we're back down to 1. You can also mirror him left to right and flip him over. Then you have stitch density. You might want to use this if you have a heavier weight thread and you don't want to have too many stitches in your design. So I'm going to take my stitch density down and then say OK with the check mark, and now I have less density in my design. Then we also have our colors. So you can come in here and see all the different colors, and notice how they highlight right on the screen. So you can come in here and you can change your colors. So if I want to change the thread, I can choose the brand of thread that I'd like to use. Maybe I want to use Floriani, and then it will automatically convert that color to a Floriani color. Maybe I have a spool of thread that I have in my hand and I want to match it because the label came off, so I don't know what it was. So I can come over here and I can choose whatever color I want to match my exact spool of thread. So now we're good to go with that. Another thing that you might enjoy doing is being able to see your design in a little bit of a different way. So we're going to come in here. You can zoom in by using our zoom tool here. You can turn on your crosshatch if you like. Or at the top, this icon of the hoop up top is going to let you change the color of your hoop background. So maybe you're sewing this out on a navy blue. You can adjust the color so that way you're seeing how it's going to look. I'm going to want to come in here and let's take a look and see where our hoop is going to be. Because this machine will let you take a picture of how it's going to sew out in your hoop and where it's going to hoop or where it's going to stitch. Now, one thing that's really nice about this machine is the fact that the way you put your hoop on and off the machine is simply by pinching these 2 little buttons down, then you place it onto the hoop arm, and then you release that. So it goes straight down on and release. It's so easy. And then there's no strain of trying to push it in. So what I did is said okay, and now the camera is on and it's ready to show me right where the needle is going to go. Another really advanced feature of this machine for getting your design exactly where you want it is to use the built-in camera. So we're going to go back to our hoop area. This is where we chose the actual color, but let's choose the drop-down menu and say scanned image. Now what it's going to do is it's going to scan the hoop. And before I do that, I'm going to back the thread out of the needle so that we don't have a tail hanging down here. If the tail's hanging down, it's going to be part of your image. So now we're going to check mark to agree to let the machine go about its business of scanning, and you get the cutest little machine with his little eyebrows. He's working, he's doing his job. So he's going to be scanning the background, and then it's going to display what it sees right on the screen of the machine. Now I have just a white fabric in here, so it's not going to be very exciting, but think about it. If you had a pocket or you're doing a bag or something that had a definite background, you're going to be able to see exactly where it goes. I can even see the print on my white and white fabric. So I would just touch OK, and now we have that ready to go. So we are ready to embroider. Now, what happens if we want to add lettering? Well, you already know how to do that. We do that by touching the plus. And then we're going to go to lettering. See how easy that is? We're going to go to lettering, and let's choose a font. Now, when you choose the font, it does pop up with an alphabet here, and we're going to put in fishy. Fishy, there we go, and check mark. Now we have our fishy, and we can move it up. Now, maybe I don't exactly like that, so let's go to our edit, and let's do our transform. I might want to have that arc over the top, so I choose arc and then use my little knob here to change the angle of that. Maybe I want to go back, maybe I want it to go vertical. So I can come over here, whoops, I rotated him, I didn't mean to. Let's undo that, choose our fish, and bring that down to the side. Well, he needs a little bit more spacing in him. So under transform, I'm going to go back to lettering, and I'm going to go to spacing and increase the amount of spacing that's between the letters. Isn't that cool? Then we'll go back and let's see what else we have. Maybe I'm going to go ahead and transform him back to the normal. Put him back up here. Maybe that's not the font I want. So we can come back here and go to edit text. If you misspelled it, so maybe it wasn't fishy, maybe it should be fish, fish. And this is set up with the same way your keyboard is on your computer. You even have your shift key and your return. So if you want to do multiple lines, and let's say swim. If you want them left justified, that's how they are. If we touch center justify, it centers the letters together. You can even do right justify. So I like that, but I'm not really fond of the font. So we have all these different fonts across the top, so we could choose our different fonts and see what they're going to look like. That's cute. So then just say OK, and there it is. Now it's a little bit big, but that's okay because you can make it any size you want, because this lettering that we're working with is built into the machine, and it's you can change it to be whatever size you want it to be, and it will recalculate the stitches. Isn't that cool? So for example, let's go over here and we're going to choose the big giant hoop. I love the giant hoop. So we've got our giant hoop here, and I'm going to move this guy way down here. Let's go turn off our background because it's a little distracting. So I'm going to come in here and say delete the background, close that out. Now we just have this. I've got that little guy down there. Now let's make our letters huge. We make them big, and it actually fills in the stitches. This is an example of something that I did where this was just a small letter and I made it to be this size. And I think that just turned out absolutely beautifully. And I'll turn it this way so you can see how cool that is. So all your letters are malleable and changeable into any way that you want them to be. So now I have my big letters, I've got my little design, and you notice the first thing that's going to stitch out is my fishes right here, and then it's going to stitch out my fish, fish, swim. Well, if I moved this up to be right there, then my M is stitching over my little guy. I don't want that. You can actually touch this guy and we can tell it we want it to move up in its position. So let's go into Arrange and let's touch Move Up. Now it switched the location, the stitch out location of these two items. Did you see that? Let's undo it and let's touch Move Up. Jellyfish is highlighted and I touch Move Up and it will move it up in the stitch order. So it will sew out last. Now you can see that he's over the top of my swim. That's pretty cool. Now let's go ahead and take our fish swim and we're going to get rid of that altogether. And let's take a look at our little jellyfish here. So now you can take this and touch Ungroup and that will split out all the pieces of the design. So if you want to get rid of something like maybe this fish up here, I don't want him. So I'm going to choose that and I'm going to delete it. And then maybe I'll take this piece and I'll delete his fins. So now we're getting through, working our way through the different elements and you can delete the bits and pieces. That's pretty cool. And you can do this on any design. It doesn't have to be one that's built into the machine. So you can edit all of the designs that you have. And that's really pretty amazing. So with embroidery, it's really easy to use. And if we're ready to sew, we're going to go to Stitch Out, which is what the green little needle does. If you want to save it, you can touch the save icon. But let's go to Stitch Out. This gives us our information, which foot should we have on, what our other settings are, and we can just say OK, and it's ready to go. Oh, look, it says the embroidery is hanging outside of our hoop. So if we say OK and we continue to sew, it will cut off that part of the design. If we say X and we go back, we can actually come back here and adjust it to be the right size to fit in our hoop. Okay? And then we can say sew out again, and then it will be happy and it's ready to go. Now, you also have the ability to turn on your little laser light. When we turn on our laser light, it shows us right where the needle's going to go. So you're ready to place it. You get it placed right where you want it to go. So on the screen, you're going to see all the information about your machine. How many stitches are in the machine and what stitch you're on, what color you're on, how long it's going to take, and how much time it's going to take for the color that you're on. And it's going to progress you through the entire design. Okay, so we're going to go back to our stitch 1, and to start sewing, you're just going to push your start-stop button and hold it down, and then it will start to stitch. Now, if you got to a point where you needed to back up or go forward, you have this little button right here that says Stitch. If you touch that, it will give you the ability to go back stitches or go forward stitches. So you can advance and go back. This is very helpful if you should happen to break a thread or run out of bobbin. You can stop and you can back up to where you were. If you need to go just to the beginning of a specific color, just touch the color you want to go to the beginning of, and it will do that. And that's how easy it is to do embroidery. This machine is so easy, I think you're going to just absolutely adore embroidering on it, and it does such a beautiful job. So make sure you check out other videos from Quality Sewing so you can learn how to use the other functions of your Bernina 990. And if you want to, come into our store and visit, bring a show and tell that you want to show our staff. We'd love to see you and see what you've been making. And we thank you for joining us today.